Hello, parents. Dave Honda here. Another video to keep you informed on what goes on in my classroom. This one is on Google Classroom and how we use it. Okay, so let me switch screens here. Oh, by the way, while the screen's still up, you can contact me with questions at dhonda@sandy.net. All right, I'm going to share my screen with you. I've got Google Classroom up for one of my classes, and even though it's period one, if your kid's in a different class, they're all the same. So what you need to know about Google Classroom, this is primarily I use it for two reasons. One, of course, is the organizational piece. And number two is it's sort of the way we keep track of our reward system in my classroom. All right, so you'll notice the four tabs across the top there: stream work, stream, classwork, people, grades. The stream, I wouldn't concern yourself with too much. The stream is mainly just a place for me to message the kids once in a while. Most of the time I talk about things in class. So in fact, you'll probably see more stuff that, ASB has asked me to send out an announcement, or the yearbook has asked me to send something. You won't see a whole lot from me in the stream. Classwork, that's the one we're going to focus on the most. People is just a list of all the kids so they can keep track of each other. Also shows me which people have signed up for a Guardian account. We'll talk about that later. And then completely ignore the last tab. We do not use Google Classroom for grades. I keep the two systems separate. So if you want to see grades, PowerSchool. Okay, and that's a different video. All right, so classwork, let's click on here. Essentially what you need to know is that classwork is organized like this. The top folder, in this case, chapter 1 equations, that will always be the most current chapter we're working on. And whatever's at the top is the most current work we're doing. Everything else you can see by the dates goes down the older it gets. Okay, so our very first assignment, reviewing simplifying expressions, that was way back August 30th. And little by little, we've been inching our way through September. Okay. The second folder down is the resources folder. No matter what chapter we're in, no matter how far we are in the year, I will always have the resources folder as the second folder down because it's probably one of the most important. All right. So first, the work we do, organization for your kids, even if they're out sick, things like that. We post homework and classwork here. So I'm going to use the one we just did today. Today, I just finished with period 1, simplifying and solving equations, chapter 1, lesson 2, part B. And what you'll see there is just the assignment. Okay, in this case, out of the book, page 14 and page 17, these problems. Handy link right here, since they don't have one to take home. We kind of have a shift in textbooks this year, so I'll explain that in a separate video. But essentially, I'm having them use the online textbook here. Or if they know they're not going to have internet access, I've been making copies of the pages they need that they can take on their way out the door. But in case they ever forget, click on the link. And this wasn't supposed to happen, but normally you don't get this page, you get their main page, but then there'll be a spot. They click California Edition, go, and then they'll get this. They then select the same book that we've got in the classroom, which is the blue Course 3 book, and that's how they do any book assignments. All right, if it's not, then something like this one, if it's a worksheet, I make copies in class, but I also leave a digital copy that people can print out in case they lose it, in case they're absent and are too sick to come to school, but well enough that they could get a little work done. They can print this out at home and stay caught up. Now, another thing to make note of is these numbers. Everything I do in Google Classroom is coded to the chapter and section numbers. So this 1.2, the 1.1, that's very important because when I go down here to the second folder, resources, there's some things there that I want to take advantage of. Okay. Now, you don't really need to know about the bathroom pass one down there. That's for the kids. Online textbook, I was just talking about it, just a separate link for the same textbook. But these three, links to tutorials, copies of notes, and fake bonus points. All right, tutorials. If you click here, and right now I've only got chapter 1 up, but a long time back, I had the opportunity to do most of my lessons as online video tutorials. So let's say your child is sick, but wants to stay caught up, or maybe your child wants to get ahead of it. They want to know what the next lesson is so they can participate more and just feel more confident about the work. Maybe I had a bad teaching day and my lesson didn't make sense and they want to re-see the lesson. Okay, so these are videos. They won't match exactly what happens in class, but they're close enough to stay caught up. But basically what they are slideshows where it's got the title, It's got the goal, and then it's got different videos in bite-sized chunks that the kids can watch and take notes on and still stay caught up with what's going on in class, especially if they're out sick. So as they go through, there'll be 2, 3 videos, bite-sized chunks, and when they hit end, that's the lesson. And that allows the kids to stay up to date on things even when they're not here. As we do more chapters, I'll post more links to the chapter 2 tutorials, chapter 3, and so forth. But if you notice what I showed you there, what I was mentioning earlier, that they're coded to the lessons. So for example, I was just giving 1.2 in his example. Here's the 1.2 video that goes with it. Same thing for notes, copies of the notes. I'm lucky enough to co-teach with Mrs. Gordon. Some of you may be familiar with her. And she is nice enough to take down the same notes that the kids take in class when we do a lesson and have a discussion. But in addition to that, she color codes them, cleans them up a little bit. So again, for example, today's lesson 1.2, if I open up the folder, there should be notes here. Oops, what's going on? 1.2, 1.2 part B. If I click on that, this in an exact, well, not exact, an even better copy of the notes because she's color-coded items, she's cleaned up the handwriting and put it into type, and this is the exact same thing we covered in class today. All right, so again, another resource that is available for your kids, whether they're sick, in class, or whatever. All right, and then finally, fake bonus points. What fake bonus points are a way for me to have a reward system in class. These I award to the kids when I'm seeing active involvement, in class. So things like completing work, volunteering and being actively engaged in the conversation, class participation, other stuff like that, working hard during the work time, all those things. As they do stuff, I will be putting those fake bonus points into Google Classroom. Essentially what it is, that's their currency. As they build those fake bonus points and as the year progresses in this same link, I don't have any yet, but I will announce certain prizes and privileges, excuse my typo right here, that I will list here. And so, one of those that's coming up, it might be a notebook, but that notebook has a very cool laser engraved cover on it. Well, if they've got enough fake bonus points, they can spend those points to get one of those notebooks. Things like that. So it's just kind of a way to have a reward system in class, but I say fake bonus points because this has nothing to do with their grades. Okay. So that's it in a nutshell. Google Classroom, organize the work. Oh, I forgot to mention this. You'll see here, I also use the classwork to remind them of upcoming tests and quizzes. So right here, I've got a reminder that next week on Tuesday, they've got an upcoming quiz. And in there, it lists the lessons. They can go to the book online or their notes and kind of look things up to make sure they're prepared for it. All right. So the last thing I'll mention is this. Under people, I have already seen a lot of you have a Guardian account, which means you don't have full access, but you get an email either daily or weekly, depending on what you choose, so that you can keep up to date with what's going on in class. So if you do want to keep up in Google Classroom, your kids need that support, I suggest one of two things. One, which I think honestly is the better option, is get a hold of their ID and password. Ask your kids for their ID and password so you can log in as them into Google Classroom. And that way you have full access. You can see everything they see. You can see the resources. You can see the assignments, all of it. Option two is if you already don't have one, you can contact any one of your child's teachers and they can create a Guardian account for you. The problem is the Guardian account, you don't have full access. The most you get, depending on when you first sign up, you either click daily or weekly, you'll get an email summary of assignments, and that's it. You won't be able to see past assignments or anything like that. It just gives you an update on what's been assigned in Google Classroom. So me personally, I feel it's easier to just have full access to your kid's account by logging in as them. But if you prefer to have the summary, that's an option too. Okay. So that's Google Classroom, what we use it for in math. It is strictly about organization and a way to put my reward points in there. You won't ever see grades in here. It's just about the organizational piece. All right. I hope this helps. Look forward to other videos And I hope you found this useful. And just like the first slide said, if you have any questions, just email me at dhonda@sandy.net.